All right, so let's talk about safety again. Um, look, we need to learn some basic fire suppression here because you never know what's going to happen, right? So your life and the lives of the other people always come first, right? That's really, really important. So if the fire is spreading or producing heavy smoke, evacuate immediately and call 911. That's the very first thing you need to keep in mind, right? So never attempt to fight a fire yourself unless it is small or contained and you are trained. Okay, so I'm going to try and cover some basic training here, but you know it's important to use your best judgment. Okay, so always make sure you have clear exit before anything else. Right, that's really important. So there's different types of fires, right? So we have Class A, which is combustibles, paper, wood, fabric, things like that. Okay. That's probably more likely you're going to run into something like that. But you also have Class B, which is flammable liquids, right? Grease, gasoline, things like that. Class C fires are electrical fire. Class C fires are electrical fires, appliances, outlets, things like that, right? So, you know, you never want to use water on Class B or Class C fires, which are for flammable liquids like grease or gasoline, or for electrical fires. A lot of people don't know that one, but you don't want to use water for that because it can make it worse. Honestly, I don't know if you've ever seen a grease fire and put water on it, but man, it just whoosh, it just flames up like crazy. So same thing happens with electrical fires, right? So you definitely want to use the correct fire extinguisher for the fire type, right? So we keep some of these around, but we don't keep them in, you know, in the kit, and you'll see why here in a second, right? You know, this is basic idea as far as how to use a fire extinguisher in general. So I keep this one in my van, okay? So the first thing you want to do to get this thing to work is pull this pin, right? So there's a pin in the side of it, and I left it out so you can see that with the pin out, it's not just going to start working, okay? There is this nozzle right here on this one. Sometimes there is no nozzle on smaller models. There should be some eventually that I will give you to leave in your car if you need one, but ultimately, you know, this is something that, you know, a lot of people keep next to their stove, right? So if you're looking, you don't have one, and you know, that's typically the place they're going to keep one. All right, so what you want to do with these, and keep in mind, you know, there's an acronym, of course, for this. PAS, P-A-S, and it'll help you remember, okay? So the first thing you want to do is pull the pin, okay, to unlock the fire extinguisher. Without pulling that pin, there is just no way this handle is going down, okay? A, okay, P-A, A is to aim, okay? So a lot of people, when they aim at the fire, they think I should be shooting on the fire. That's not true. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to shoot towards the base of the fire. That's where the fire actually is, okay? So if you're putting it out and you're just shooting at the fire, it's not going to go out, right? You're just going to do nothing. You're going to waste all the fluid in this thing. So be sure, hit the base of it. It's going to go out like that, okay? The third thing, PAS, is to squeeze the handle to release the agent, right? So when we were talking about the other kind of fires, like a grease fire or an electrical fire, putting water on them can make them worse. With fire extinguisher, it won't. Okay, so that's the key with those. Let's say you're there. Customer's cooking bacon. You don't have time to find a fire extinguisher, right? What do? Put a lid on it. Literally, take a lid, put it on top of it. You're going to suffocate the fire. So, I mean, fire, generally speaking. Oh, and the last thing is you want to sweep at the base of it, right? You don't want to just shoot directly at the base, even though that's going to work. But, you know, if it's a bigger fire, you're just going to have to sweep, okay? You know, a couple things you also need to keep in mind is that you want to stand 6 to 8 feet away from the fire. You don't want to catch yourself on fire in the process of putting it out, right? If the fire doesn't go out completely or you still see burning embers afterwards, make sure everybody's evacuated, call 911 either way, okay? It's really important stuff because the fire can still be burning even if you're not in there. All right, so, you know, there's that old adage, if there's smoke, there's fire. So if you see smoke, what do? Right? Again, stay calm. Like I said, you know, I give myself 5 seconds to panic. Well, in this case, maybe it's 2 or 3, right? Because you don't need to assess the situation as much. You see smoke, that's a problem. You need to deal with it, right? So alert everybody else nearby. Make sure everybody near you and on your way out knows I smell smoke, right? You might want to evacuate. You know, and then once you call 911, you activate the fire alarm. Then you know you're going to want to see if you can get there safely and extinguish the fire. Okay, if it's not safe, you'll know really fast turnaround, run the heck out of there. All right, but don't be a hero. Don't put yourself in a dangerous position to try and put out the fire. We're talking about, you know, something along the lines of, you know, you saw just a plain box, you know, catch on fire. You have a fire extinguisher right there. Okay, those are the sort of situations I'm talking about. But generally speaking, you are not a firefighter. Do not try and put it out. If it's small, know how to do it. Okay. So anyways, if you are unsure, okay, then you just evacuate, right? A fire will double in size every 30 seconds. So I don't know if you know that, and that's exponential. So, you know, a fire that's 4 foot by 4 foot is going to be 8 foot by 8 foot. And then that 8 by 8 is 16 by 16. And all this is happening in 30-second increments. Okay. So, you know, if it does, evacuate the room, close the door behind you to help contain the fire and smoke, and get out of there. Okay. You might run into like grease fires and stuff like that, right? Like I said, never use water, it'll fireball. Turn off the heat, right? And then smother the fire with the lid, or baking soda if it's right there and it's safe, okay? Don't move the pan. It could splash fire and hot grease all over the place, right? If you can't contain it with a lid, you know, you can always try suffocating it with something else. Often we have like a dish towel or something nearby. Put it over there. It doesn't work, get the heck out, right? Don't wait to find out, because you're either going to suffocate it or you're not, right? So electrical fires, right? Unplug the equipment first, right? If it's safe to do so. If you hear popping and snapping, or, you know, you have any concern about being electrocuted, don't touch it, okay? You know, like I said, the extinguishers I get are multi-purpose, so they work for Class C fires as well. If you don't have one handy, evacuate, right? There's not a whole lot you could do, because there's hot wires inside the wall. You know, you can't do anything about that, except get people out, make sure they're safe, okay? Never throw water at a fire, you know, at a wall socket, right? That's just, it's going to make the problem worse, okay? So if unplugging it helps and you no longer, you know, hear it, ventilate the area, right? Avoid inhaling lingering fumes, right? So it'll smell sort of like plastic. You want to make sure and get that. You don't want to breathe that in. Okay, so stay out until it smells fine. So don't attempt to clean up the problem until it's cleared with management or emergency responders. Okay, that's really important. Now we're dealing with a different type of job that has a whole different type of safety considerations for you. All right, so it's really important not to clean that up yourself. All right, thank you so much, and keep safe.